advocacy support since February, since they have launched the We Choose campaign. And as you can see, their slogan is "We choose equity, not the illusion of school choice." And so thank you for coming to this workshop where you get to find out more about what these amazing organizers are doing in more than 30 cities across the country to make that slogan a reality. So I've been asked to go over the conversation norms so that we can have a productive conversation and time together. And you'll see them on the chart paper over my shoulder to the left. You can tell this is a room of organizers because of the proliferation of chart paper. So we're just asking people to come into this space with an attitude that is without judgment, and that we are kind to one another, and we treat one another with dignity, respect, and with worth. That we respect everybody's process, everybody's experience, and the particular gift that they're bringing to this conversation, because everybody out here has a gift and a perspective that we want to hear and that we want to bring in. Of course, avoid profane and abusive language and disruptive behavior. Silence your cell phones. Take a minute to do that if you haven't yet, or put them on vibrate. And land the plane. So try and allow for airtime for other folks. And so if you see our fantastic, if you see our fantastic moderator, Ransha Dickerson, like patting her shoulder like this, you know that means to land your plane. And sit down gently and let another person have the runway into the conversation. So, and then last, respect any confidential information. If people are sharing their stories, that is precious cargo, and that's important information, and we want to, again, try and create a safe space where we can all learn from one another to the maximum extent. So I will say thank you again, welcome you to the We Choose conversation, and turn it over to Ransha Dickerson.
How's everyone doing? So we're fancy up here with our microphone because we have videos going on, but I want to make the first public announcement. I am not G2 Brown. So have mercy on my G2-ish spirit, okay? So I'm Ransha Dickerson, the National Organizer for Journey for Justice Alliance, and I'm also the co-founder of Camden's Parent Union. I'm all the way from Camden, New Jersey. So I'm back on the West Coast again. I love being over here. I'm a die-hard Golden State Warriors fan. I don't want to hear any hisses or boos in here, because it's real in my heart. I do love them, so I want you all to know that I'm happy to be in the Bay Area again. Thank you all for just coming and being a part of this workshop today. I want you all to inhale with me and exhale. I know it has been a lot today, a lot to process, to take in. You are in a safe space. We're going to share and enjoy this space. The We Choose campaign has just lifted off, and it's orbiting, it's out there now. And if you heard about it, or if you heard anything that you have some FAQs in this room, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to what it is, why we're doing it, what's the purpose of it, how's it working. Again, I may not be as eloquent as G2 Brown, but I am going to build in this room with this eloquent panel we have up here, and my We Choose is inside the room, and my J for J family is inside the room, so I want you all to know that we are in a direct, safe space, and we're going to enjoy this time. So let's get at it. Everyone has in their seats some information about how we're going to run this agenda. We're going to stick to script, try to stay in our time frame. We get these come to these conferences and get these small time frames. They say we're 5 minutes off, so you guys got more time. They're like, no, we got to cut. We got to get to the next conference. So we know after lunch starts getting faster. Like, so I want y'all to know that we're going to try to get through this fast. I'm a fast talking sister from New Jersey, so I'm going to try to slow it down. Okay? So we'll get through it, and I want you all to feel comfortable inside the space and also learn about the We Choose tenets and why we're doing this campaign and all the partners and coalition partners that we have inside the space. So I'm going to set up our spot. I'm not going to talk to our panel yet. They're going to be here as our celebrity guests coming up soon. So this is our VIP section up here. We're going to talk about the DeVos video, right? So we've been hearing the word Betsy DeVos all day long. She's become like the conversation narratively through the whole entire conference, right? And it's important because what she did, I think that Diane Ravitch said it clearly. She gave us the person to say, yup, you're in trouble. So today we're going to show you a documentary that we made for the Journey for Justice Alliance, where Betsy DeVos, one of our sister organizations from Detroit, they took a bus ride from Detroit to Washington, D.C. Now let's remember, Detroit is Betsy DeVos ground zero. where she has pulverized, like she was Hurricane Betsy. It's like Detroit, right? And she came through and just tore Detroit up, and she has like a certain amount of swag and arrogance, like, I did a great job, I'll do it again. You know, it's her attitude. She has an air of like, what? I made Detroit even better. But in this video, it showed you that Detroit was improving. And it wasn't because of Betsy Walls, because of the people inside of Detroit, right? The school system was growing. It was people on the ground that was fighting hard and working hard to build Detroit. So we're gonna open up with a little video. We had to cut the video down some because it's long in a sense for a conference, but it's impactful. So once you're gonna get it right mid bus ride at Washington, D.C. into D.C., and then you're gonna see how this group had to fight modern day for what they believe in. So we're going to cue that video now, and then we're going to go right into our panel. Everyone good? Yes. Listen, you came up here to this workshop, so you brought the warm with you. So if it's warm in here, I'm not responsible for the heat. Right? So I'll ask housekeeping to turn some air up inside this space, but to all my women who may be having their personal summers, you're not alone. It's hot. Bring it in here, right? So I got some snaps over there. Everyone's with you. So we'll cue the lights and we'll cue the video.
So don't get mad. We're on our way with all the good little activists and the children from Detroit, teachers, community people, parents. We're all on this trip together.
If the United States Constitution is correct, equal justice under the law, she cannot just keep discriminating against us. Now everybody's in the same pot, and they will have to experience what we experience. Congressional group and to have a press conference. It took us long enough to get here.
Your wife for me, everybody. Sam, get rid of this.
Can you use this?
No, not to take picture of this.
Okay.
Thank all of you all for making this journey. Thank you for believing that you can make a difference.
From the line for the Boston hearing right now, as of about a half an hour ago, it already included 38 people. Security said that they'll start letting things in around 4:30, but they'll cut the line after the first 25 to 30 and direct the rest to overflow room. And then once the hearing starts, they're going to do a one in, one out kind of thing to get people in and out. So we need to get over this. Yeah.
This is what you call staged America. This is staged America. This is scripted America.
What do you mean?
No way in the world you're going to have to sit there and have a Senate hearing to such a degree where the open public, the really concerned public who travel hard to get here, is not being allowed because you have paid homeless people to hold spots until they get in. That doesn't, I mean, that's not America. Yes.
Which homeless people?
Don't go around on the end, around this, around that bit. Yeah, man, come on, them to live. This is crazy. And they're mean. But when our children grow up, when black children grow up, they're gonna have to pay for all this. They have to pay for this foolishness. They're just all in spots. And just waiting to get paid. As soon as they get paid, they get to go out. They get to leave. And they don't see nothing wrong with that. What's going on?
If we've never seen anything in our lifetime like what's happening here, we would never know how they play the game. They have two lines, one here and one down there, and they're letting people come in and they're keeping us out so that we won't be able to. What's the matter? Well, we walk in the hallway. Okay, I'm real small. People coming past me. But anyway, this is the kind of thing that our forefathers went through. Talking about democracy. They staged this whole thing, paying people to be in line so that we can't get into the office where they're having the hearing.
How do you know they?
Well, they told us, the people that are in line, some of them are out on the street, they actually have told us, and they said they're not really with these folks. They don't really know what's happening, but they need the money. And it's been verified. You talk to them. You see all these folks around here? I don't know which one. There's a guy, I don't know. Who wants to talk to the camera about how much you get paid for standing in line? Who wants to talk to our camera? Who wants to be on just be quiet, I know what I'm doing. Stand in line to get your own children and all your own children's education. Oh, you already have been told? You already know. We paying? We ain't paying.
You want more money?
You can't pay for democracy. You can't pay for our children's education. The real line is around there, and they're putting people.
They're putting children in line.
And they're putting people in place, and I've talked to the people that are here. They don't know why they're here, but they're just getting the money. And that's how Betsy DeVos has.
Yes, ma'am. Let's step. Let's step. Mama. Just step with me. Step with me.
Well, it might be okay, but our children are not being treated right, and neither are we.
No.
We want our children to be educated, and she's not going to do it. They're going to end up in prison, and some of you are going to suffer for it. The very ones that's trying to stop us. When they don't get educated in school, they go to prison. They kill each other. They do all that.
We're not in the middle. Oh, sure. We're to the side. We're to the side.
They made sure the bombs are gone.
No, this is the third first of one. The bottom was white. Yep. That whole line was white.
Yeah, they let some go in there too.
Just came off the elevator 10 minutes
And the
ago.
white people, all the staffers walked off.
They handpicked and put those people in the line and let the other people go.
Yeah, because that's what they said. Reject this money. We out of here. Reject this money. And we're leaving.
Put that very well curated.
$35 worth my food. That was $17,000 line. That was for all the people that was $17,000 line. If they were here from 7:30 in the morning till 5, it's a $17,000 line.
Okay, we got some lady that we should get $20.
That is the biggest. We have pictures of the line all day. 30 minutes ago, that was all my people.
$100, he said, no, correct yourself, it wasn't $35, it's $110. So you sold my kid's education out for $110.
That's what he said, I'm a witness.
Say it,
He actually said that.
just say it.
Where if I had lived through this, I wouldn't believe it. I would not believe that desperate that they would sell their own children education down the drain for $110.
Protesters are allowed to take the spaces of mothers and fathers that have been harmed by school closings. Taxpayers come from all over the United States, but we don't have the right to go to a Senate hearing to let a privatizer take over public education. Nobody talks to the people in our community and express your opinions about our community. And nobody talks to us about what should happen to our schools. We are afraid of equity. It's an act of cowardice to run towards privatization and to run away from equity. We are as far away from Brown v. Board as we were in 1957. We deserve the right to have a say so in what happens to our children. Take it personal, the inequities that exist in this school system and how we have a health committee. None of them have talked to the parents in Detroit. Did you know that in Detroit there was an improving education system? There were 4 straight years of test score improvement. And then they invented an education crisis. And the first thing they took was the right of those parents to vote for their elected school board. How many of you in this room can vote for your school board? Raise your hand. How many of you in this room can vote for your school board? The first thing they do is snatch away our right to vote. Then they say, we're going to change who manages the building. We're not going to deal with the questions of inequity. How can we be comfortable with a grandmother sitting and telling you there were 53 children in her kindergarten class? At the same school, children that need special ed are getting their services under the stairs, eating lunch in the gym room. There's shame on this country. Shame on us. We are guilty of inertia. And so what we have to do is get arrested. We have to do hunger strikes. I was one of those hunger strikers that had to save Diet High School. On the 25th day of our hunger strike, Mayor Rahm Emanuel went to Lincoln Elementary, gave them a $21 million annex, an already wealthy school. To hell with those black children in Washington Park. This ain't no race card. We're afraid of race. We're afraid of it. And since we're afraid of it, we don't change anything. And so we have to be under armed guard just because we want our voices heard. Nobody's here trying to do anything wrong. Every person using this brother's a retired educator, dedicated his life to children. But we have to act like we're criminals. We're being criminalized while they got paid protesters out there. But we're being criminalized. This is what America really is. So all of the illusions of a post-racial society, you better get over that. Despite this great gray in my beard, I got an 8-year-old. I'm terrified for him. I'm terrified for him.
This is your second warning.
We were told that we can speak. We were told that we can speak.
Not holding signs in the building. Take down the sign.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you walk with that sign in throughout this building,
yes,
you
ma'am,
will be arrested, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you guys say you don't want to be arrested. We're not trying to arrest you, but you're doing everything in order for us to do it, okay?
What have you learned about the failures of the Detroit public schools and Detroit charter schools that has informed your decision-making as the Secretary of Education? What went wrong there that's going to go right in cities all across America as a result of your philosophy about how we ought to move the country forward?
Actually, I believe that there's a lot that has gone right in Detroit and in Michigan with regard to charter schools. And the notion that there hasn't been accountability is just wrong. It's a faulty, it's false news. It's not correct.
That's why working our neighborhoods is so important. Because this space is corrupted. So, you know, The struggle continues, but there is a struggle. This ain't David versus Goliath. This is a fight. You don't go to an action and expect the Red Sea to part. You go to an action to land a blow. Right? Then you come back and you figure out how you come back next time. So we landed a blow. We are believers. And so we have to spread that gospel around the country. I have a son. I can't look my son in the eye and know that he has no power, that he don't have the right to control what happens in his neighborhood. So my son sees a man that is not far from perfect, but does his best to make sure that we have self-determination. So that has to be the core essence of our education movement moving forward. We can't make the mistake that our brothers and sisters made in the civil rights movement. And that mistake was to believe that through legislation, we can transform a country that has never been held accountable for its hatred. Accountability breeds transformation. There has to be a will for transformation. So for white America that does not believe in that, they have to become warriors against racism in their own communities, right? If not, then we will always deal with this. We will always put a Band-Aid over a bullet wound instead of dealing with the core issue. So the fight today is a fight for justice, but like I said, a fight that must be grounded in self-determination.
And the nomination is confirmed. Never before has a vice president been called upon to cast a tie-breaking vote for a cabinet nominee. When I cast my first vote in the United States Senate, though, I wasn't just voting for you. Having seen your devotion to improving the quality of education for some of our most vulnerable children across the nation for so many years, I was also casting a vote for America's children. And I can tell you, my vote...
No education, no life for Black people. It's the truth. Think about it. Letting them know that we don't like her appointment and we know what she's about. That's great. But if we can get to the masses and let them know that what we're doing is for the benefit of all children, white, Black, Latinos, Native Americans, if we can let them know that we're not fighting them, we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. When they learn our history and we learn theirs, we're going to all find out that we're great and our children are great. So that's what we're looking for, a new day. So you can't stop us. There's always going to be somebody there that's going to keep the struggle continuing. Until our children are free and get the education they deserve, we will never stop.
Wow, right? Yeah, let's just inhale again. Exhale it out. So give me some popcorn words. How'd that film make you feel? Just give me some words.
Angry.
Angry, disgusted, tired. Come on.
I was sad.
Yes, sad.
I was there, sad,
It's a very heavy feeling inside the room, right? I mean, and since we started the We Choose campaign, we have been able to show this video across almost 30 cities across the country. And every room has been exactly the same. We come in here, we're prepared to hear the message, but when you see that video, it's something about that video that shows you the true struggle, because you can identify with every person on that video. Regardless of your race, you can identify from the pain of fighting for something that you truly believe in, whether it be a soccer game, whether it be a tennis court, whatever it is, whether it be whatever it is in your community, whether it be a grocery store, you can feel the pain of something you fought for, and you see people dismiss you or pay people to go online and take a space and take your democracy away, snatch it from you. Those things are the reason why the We Choose campaign is building. So with that energy and inside this space, we're gonna open up to our panel. So I have these superstars up here, these gladiators up here hanging out with me, and I want you all to see that we're gonna transition from this style of seeing this video to getting into a panel discussion and then opening up to talk to you. This is like a town hall in the middle of Oakland, right? So we're gonna have this conversation. It's not gonna be just about us talking to you, but us now having this critical conversation about why is equity important. We're not talking about charter versus public, we're talking about simple old, good old equity, right? All right, so I'm gonna go to my panel here. I'm gonna introduce them one by one, and then they're gonna get into 2 questions. We have 2 questions posed, the questions are here on the wall, but I will repeat them, I'll read them out to you again. So our first panelist is Mrs. Bahija Sabri. She is a mother of 6 children. She has, she's a married a wife, she's a wife, she is. And then she is the co-founder of Camden Parent Union in Camden, New Jersey. She has also established a no charter zone in Camden, New Jersey, and she's also established a K-12 feeder in the Parkside section of Camden. So she has been doing some great work in Camden. She's one of our J for J members also. Next to her is Kamal Kepperu. Kamal Kepperu is one of the leaders of the Detroit Life Coalition. They are responsible for Freedom School in Detroit and also a statewide network in Detroit. And next to Kamal is Jasmine Ripper. Jasmine is part of Alliance for Quality Education. She's a former first grade teacher. She walked 150 miles from New York City to Albany for over 10 days fighting for public education. Currently in Albany working to hold elected officials accountable for equitable school funding, rightfully so. Next to Jasmine is Malana Talbert. Malana Talbert is co-partner with Kamal. He runs the Detroit Life Coalition, and they're doing some great work in Detroit, and he can attest to what happened on this video. They're a big part of the growth of what's going on in Detroit. They've held about 2 critical conversations in our building, a statewide network, and that's not easy to do, and nobody in Detroit believe that, so the brothers doing some great work. And finally, I have co-founder of Pulse, Johnny Latner. He is responsible with his co-founder Sharon Smith to doing, they did an OCR Title VI complaint in Pulse, in Newark, New Jersey. They also did they had won back local control for over 22 years of being under control under this group. And they are responsible for the Newark boycott. Work with the students to get the Cami Anderson, who was the former superintendent out of Newark. They work with the community to get her out of there. So that's Johnny Latner. All right. So 2 questions on the floor. We're gonna start with our first question. How has school closures / charters expansion impacted communities nationally? Now, all these young fellas and ladies up here are all national organizers. They're members of Journey Justice Alliance, and they do great work. We want to talk about the impact of school closures and the expansion of charter schools. How has that impacted the work that they do to the national aspect? So we'll just go down the line. I'll give the mic as we're being recorded.
Yep. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
As Marsha said, my name is Bahija Sabri. I'm a mom of 6. My husband is a public school teacher in Camden, New Jersey. So that fight sometimes it gets a little tough because we sit on 2 sides. I got to be the mom and the parent, and he has to, he supports with doing what his due diligence being a teacher. To answer the question, just how charter schools, the expansion and the school closures have affected us in Camden, I am sitting here because 500 students decided to walk out because their teachers were being fired, their schools were being closed, and they had enough. And we had, the partner of Cami Anderson, Paymon Rahoniford, sent down to Camden, New Jersey to pretty much dismantle our whole entire public school system. And we are still under state control. So as a result, 500 high school students citywide decided to voice their, use their First Amendment right and go down to the school board and let the superintendent know that they weren't happy with what was going on. And CPU was founded that way. Camden Parent Union was founded after Camden Student Union. We found that a lot of the parents and the caregivers in the city, they weren't quite aware of the things that were going on, but because our students stood up and made a decision to say that we deserve better, we decided that we needed to rally around them. So CPU was born that way, and we worked with other organizations inside of our city to help support those students and to give parents a voice and educate them on what their rights are as parents and what is going on with our public school system. So just to wrap up, the school closures, now we have 26 schools in our school district, and 50% of them are now charter schools. And not because our public schools are failing as we're being told, because Camden is considered one of the worst cities in the country. It's not that. It's definitely because of this privatization pretty much takeover that's happening all across the country. And it has an extreme effect on everything, not just education, but everything in our communities. Our communities are being destroyed and gentrified, and I have to use that word because we're being pushed out of our communities. Education is the start of it, it's just the catalyst. Everything else follows suit. Real estate, everything, healthcare, it all follows suit. So Camden we kind of became the little bit of a blueprint for what's to come with this privatization act. So
everybody all right? I want to start off with my name is Kamal Keperu and I'm from Detroit. One correction, we are a part of a couple different organizations, and Sister Ronta started off, said we're responsible for the Detroit Independent Freedom School. We're a member. A group of parents and community leaders started it before us, and then we ended up getting involved, and we're heavily involved. So I wanted to make that one adjustment. But let me say this, y'all seen the video, and I want to keep the same spirit that G2 spoke about last night, which was heavy. He was intentional of talking about brothers and sisters, and he was speaking to our white brother and sister family, because this is able to happen at this level because of a false narrative. A lot of you all, and excuse my tone, being offensive, but believe in that narrative that we cannot do for ourselves. So when you look at Detroit and Betsy DeVos, that's the home. She practiced on us. So she's coming for everybody. So what do you think will happen once she squashed Black and brown communities? Oh, she's coming. Matter of fact, she's at your door now. So when we talk about Thursday. I like that. So one more time, say that again. She said Thursday. So this false narrative is real key for us to break. It is, in my opinion, in our opinion, is your job as our white brothers and sisters to educate your community. Because we're doing our work, but when we run to or go to different communities, we get the pushback. We can't go to your community. I remember we went to one community or was having a conversation, and there was disbelief that the state should take over your school because y'all were stealing the money anyway. So all these news articles people have bought into it. So I won't talk long, but the way you can help is to educate your community.
So hi, my name is Jasmine Gripper. I'm the legislative director for the Alliance for Quality Education. We are a statewide coalition that works on equity, especially in school funding. And we have been forced to get into the charter school fight because of what's happening across New York. I want to dispel the myth that New York is a progressive capital, that we have our shit together, because we don't. As many Democrats as we have, they're all corporate Democrats, and they are not just doing what's best for children. In New York City, we have 1.1 million children in our public schools. A million of them go to traditional public schools. 10%, 100,000 children go to charter schools in New York City. We see the same thing in all of our majority minority school districts. Our big school districts, there are a huge population of charter schools coming in and taking over, and they disrupt. They cause instability for our children. An example of this is in Albany. They came in, so many charters came in, a lot of the students left the traditional schools, went to the charter schools. As a result, the school district sold some buildings. They had a declining enrollment. Charter school was caught doing things that were unethical, stealing money. They were closed down. The school district had to reabsorb an entire middle school. They didn't have a middle school building anymore. They couldn't even use a charter school building because the regulation for the size of buildings for charter schools and classrooms are not the same for traditional schools. So the school district had to pay extra and had to reshuffle all these children around because of disruption that was caused by charter schools. And we see it happening in cities across New York City, across New York State. We see it happening across the country. That our communities where children need the most stability are creating instability. And that school districts that were successful and things that were working. I went to a community school in Bedford-Stuyvesant in the 80s. It was a beautiful program. All of my teachers were Black.
I will say it again, all of my teachers were black. My principal was a black woman who had a doctorate degree. And when she retired, she was replaced by another black woman with a doctorate degree. That does not exist anymore in Bed-Stuy. That's a problem. And so we have to protect what we have. We have to educate our parents and our community members to know what they have. We have to reclaim all the things that we've lost. One more thing I do want to add is that we have a tax credit. We heard about tax credits earlier, just another way for vouchers. Our governor supported a tax credit. Our Senate supported a tax credit, and we fought back against it. The only reason why he stopped supporting the tax credit is because Donald Trump came into office and Governor Cuomo wanted to be the anti-Trump. So don't be fooled by so-called progressive Democrats.
Right.
Hello everybody, how are you? Good. Hello everybody, how are you? Good. All right. My name is Mahalana Talbert. I am also from Detroit, working with Detroit Life Coalition. As my counterpart said about the Detroit Freedom School, that's one of the works that we're doing in Detroit. One of the big things I just wanted to push on everybody here. Everybody familiar with New Orleans? You ever heard of that city? So is everybody familiar with what's going on in terms of public education? It is so many public schools there, right? No. Right. So we had an emergency manager inside of Detroit who had the vision to turn Detroit into a New Orleans. So the idea was to take all of the public schools and somehow filter it into a charter school. Somehow take it from the public and make them charter schools. So they devised a plan similar to a corporate structure that General Motors did when they took they created two companies.
New co, old co.
You're stealing my thunder, bro. Now you talk, so okay. So we created two structures.
I got excited.
Yo, I got you, brother. I got you back. So in there's two structures. One structure, what they I ended up coming up with was something they called Detroit Public School. And then they came up with another structure called Detroit Public Communities and Schools. So what do you think the Detroit Public Schools function is now? Educating our babies? Right? Any hands for that? Okay. Y'all think it is to create new infrastructure on how kids can be educated in ways we can get them? Is that? Nobody's buying that. Okay, good. So let's go over to the Detroit Public Community Schools. So the way it's set up is okie dokie. So for DPS, Detroit Public Schools, the function of Detroit Public School is to house the debt that the emergency manager / state created, and for it to pay back that debt over time. The purpose of the Detroit Public Coordinating Community Schools is to actually, quote unquote, educate the kids, but they're not putting enough resources. There's still 100+ teachers in the red, right? So you don't really have enough money to do it, but then again, it was other structures that the state created, like what they have, the EAA, hey Sharon, the EAA, that's the timekeeper telling me to slow down, hurry up. The EAA is a structure that the state created, which is like the charter version, right? It's a whole bunch of structures. So my point is, what our work is in Detroit is to make sure, one, our community is alerted to what's going on, we begin to organize, and I'll stop there.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Johnny Lattner. I'm co-founder of Cones. And I just want to read you our quote. Every student deserves an opportunity to a great education, and every parent has the right to advocate for it. It's strong, isn't it? So in Newark, New Jersey, since 2010, we've had 19 school closings. We won't even talk about the co-locations, the turnarounds, and all that other stuff. And I actually came today and I brought the award-winning book, The Prize, with our great governor, Chris Christie, our former mayor, Cory Booker, Mr. Zickenberg, and our former superintendent, Canby Anderson. That's our local prize. Our national disaster is Donald Trump, or I don't even call him that, number 45. Ms. DeVos, who's our national destroyer. Mr. Cory Booker, who's looking for national inspiration. And Christie, who is no longer after this election to be over. So the effect of the school closures, you can tell by me, it's funny, but it's not funny, right? Because communities are being divided, destroyed, dismantled because of these people throughout the United States and locally with us. So I'll end it there.
All right. I'm so limited on this microphone. I don't want anymore. So we open up the conversation, right? So from the video, you can see that the effect that DeVos is giving to, the impact that school closures and charters will have as an expansion to communities that serve Black and brown people it's going to be devastating, right? And this national group up here has already suffered enough. You hear numbers, not just one school, like double the amount of schools being closed in a matter of 3 years. Like Camden went from 26 to 50%, 50% cuts in their district, and then these things are happening nationally. I know that everyone in the room will talk about how each city they've been in or they teach in, how you see the charters coming in and creating a space where it's like one or the other. So in connection to the film, I want to just give you some facts from one of our partners, the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools. I just want to take away one city real fast. So in California, I'm gonna do Oakland. Oakland, if this happens, the Title I and Title II money, the budget that will be cut will be about $4 million cut from California's budget, right? From Title I and Title II. And then for New Jersey, I'm gonna deal with just Camden alone. Camden is almost $2.6 million cut from the budget, right? And then Detroit, I'm gonna deal with just Michigan. I'll do Albion. Albion is about $5.6 million. This is a cut, right? And then New York, this is crazy. Then New York, I'll deal with just New York City. Yeah, about $121 million cut from the budget. So who does that affect? The children will suffer tremendously because we're not sitting here saying at all family, and I'm gonna call us family because we're in this space, this warm space together, that we're saying that public education has been done right. We already had that conversation, Brown v. Board. We already had this conversation earlier, right? So I don't need to repeat what G2 said last night, but we're saying that with that going on and the suffering that we've had since that, and we're still trying to play catch up from that, now you wanna come and cut more? We're gonna do another gigantic, enormous budget cut. So it's like, I got this wonderful pie, and I'm gonna, it's already cut up in all these little slices. I'm gonna take all the little slices and give you this one little bit left and make it work. Feed your family off of that. You work with that for a month or a year or whatever. So what Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump are proposing to education is a way for us to look at it with a different lens. Education has become big money. Big money for privatizers who look at it in the sense of saying, they don't matter, and I don't care. These children don't matter, and I don't care. The communities they come from don't matter, and I still don't care. What I care about is what the future of my pockets look like, and the future of what I believe is important, right? So let's get to the second question. How for this panel here, how will the Trump-DeVos education budget affect the future of public school students nationally? Speak about how it will affect your local, your areas, like what have you witnessed?
Okay, so number one, I would say, overall, the fact that it's just utterly ridiculous that we still have to argue whether or not, schools should be funded, period. The formula has been written for successful public schools. The formula has been written for successful education careers. We see it every single day. We see it in the students that go to private schools, that go to Ivy League schools. We know what the formula is, so that also means that it's purposefully done. When I say the effects that this budget will have, it takes away all of our resources. To add charter schools, and especially the charter schools, these privatized corporate takeover charter schools, is pretty much adding juvenile detention centers to your city. It's a direct school to prison pipeline. If you walk through the halls of some of these charter schools where they have our students walking on tape, my babies are getting their shoes covered in black duct tape if they don't have the right shoes in the school. Absolutely unacceptable. So what you're feeding to me or feeding to our children is that they're not good enough to be assets to the society that they're supposed to be living in. So you're feeding them a direct route to the prison workforce, pretty much. You're saying that they're not qualified in order to have the proper resources to have a sustainable life in this society. So a huge part of that, and I'm a huge advocate for the arts, and the arts is a major component. That's number one that has been taken away from us, period. With this budget, there is no possible way we have any extracurricular, no arts activities, and you know the creative mind is what we do. We do everything with that. With no creativity, we have no life. That's everything that we do is based on our creativity, the ability to critically think, all of that. Chef man. But I use that to say that the expansion of these charter schools and with the budget being cut for us, the budget is growing for charter schools. So what does that say? What does that say when you add $235 million to expand charter schools and you're cutting $9 billion from public education? I'm done.
Right.
I think the Trump and the vote budget will bring more isolation. And I say that from the context of what has happened to us across the nation has happened in isolation because a lot of cities wasn't communicating with each other. I'll give an example. In Detroit, there's a city, well, I'll take a step back. We have a quote in the Journey for Justice in the We Choose campaign. Our job is to nationalize our local work. We say that because this can't happen in isolation again. So Detroit, it's a city called Inkster, maybe about 40 miles away from Detroit. If you ever flew into Detroit, it's right next to the Metropolitan Airport. We did a big event in Detroit, and one representative came to that event. Her name is Dee Richardson. She's a longtime advocate of Inkster, parent. We did not know, most of us in Detroit, not only did they close Inkster schools, all of their schools, they tore the buildings down. You gotta hear me. They tore the buildings down. If you go to Ms. Dee Richardson's house, she got the, help me with the word, memorabilia. That it? I said that right? Yes.
Well, we understood you.
She got the bricks in her home, because the contractors called her and told her if they wanted anything to come and get it. So Inkster has no public schools. The buildings are not there. So that school district, the kids got split up into the outside white districts, divided up, but they're still paying taxes as if they got a school district. So when you talk about what this I can't even say their name, but what their budget is going to do is going to exacerbate more isolation. Albion, we spoke on Albion. Albion is another small city. Their district got absorbed in the surrounding white districts. And so our kids there have been split up, and the community did not have a say. So when we look at it from a national perspective, it's our job to build the local, state, and national work, to build that bridge. Because we realize if we stay connected and tell these stories, they can't repeat it, because the same game they playing in Detroit, they're playing everywhere. They may call it state takeover in Detroit, but it's called something else. It's called, y'all got it.
So I'm gonna answer this question in a roundabout way. So when everybody knows Mayor Bloomberg in New York City, he was a fan of charter schools. He closed so many schools. He opened charters. When he left, I'm so happy to get rid of him. New York's CEJ, Coalition for Educational Justice, AQE, we formed a campaign, New Yorkers for Great Public Schools. And we got all the mayoral candidates to look at our pledge. We set up our platform. We got parent and community invite. And Mayor de Blasio, who's the current mayor, adopted all the things that we wanted. We were like, yes, we won this huge victory. Charters didn't have a friend in the mayor. You know what they did? They went to our governor.
And everything the mayor promised he was going to do for us, the governor put it into state law, and he couldn't. They said, you want to do a co-location? Well, charter schools have to approve a co-location first. And how did he do this? He did it through our state budget process. New York has to get our budget passed. It's a huge budget, one of the wealthiest states in the nation. And we have to pass our budget. And everyone in the legislature votes for the budget. So all the things that they don't want to vote for individually, they throw it in the budget. We call it the big ugly. And so every time he wanted a new charter thing, he just threw it in the state budget. And we had it every year after year. Last year they were fighting to raise the age. 16 and 17-year-olds in New York and North Carolina were the only two states prosecuting 16 and 17-year-olds as adults. New York City's like, shame on you, why do we have this? Our governor, I do this because it's a national room. And Governor Cuomo wants to run for president. Y'all know that, right? So I want y'all to know who he really is. So only because of that, he wanted to do raise the age. He didn't care how well he did it. He didn't care if he raised the age right. We had to make a whole new campaign to make sure he did it right. And what he did is they bartered for charters. He said, everything you want to raise the age, to treat 16 and 17-year-olds as kids, I will give the charter something extra. They got increased tuition. I can't remember what else, but tooth and nail to the very end, they would not seal the deal on education until they sealed the deal on raise the age, because they bartered for every single thing. And so what does that leave us now in New York? We have a budget process that happens. We have the federal budget, not just education being cut. Healthcare cuts are happening, right? We hear the looming threats of healthcare. CHIP is not being renewed. Guess who that hurts? New York State. Our state is looking at a deficit, a potential deficit, if the federal government doesn't fund healthcare. What does that mean for our state budget? They're going to make cuts. The last time there was a recession, guess who bore the brunt of the cuts? Our children. They took billions, they borrowed. That's what they call it. They borrowed billions of dollars from our schools to make up the budget gap. And so that is what the Trump DeVos budget does. It's not even just the education cuts that they do. Everything that they do that causes a deficit to our states has to be filled in some other way, and that means they start balancing the budgets off the backs of black and brown kids. That's right.
All right, so I want a commitment from everybody right now that you will not throw anything at me. Can everybody agree to that? All right, it's about to get real. Can everybody agree to that? Security, watch the lady. They got a water bottle. Watch the lady right here. So with that being said, what does this do for us? I think it's the best thing for us ever. And the reason, don't throw the bottle, please do not. So the reason why it's the best thing for us is when somebody got their foot on your neck, you start to look at life different. I'll say it again, when somebody got their feet on your neck, you start to look at life different. When you talk about change, when you talk about becoming something new, when you are in a safe and comfortable space, you can theoreticize. You can talk. Theoreticize.
You got teachers in the room.
That was the right word, wasn't it?
That's the right word.
So you can. Yeah. So the issue is, for a very long time, we have been comfortable. We've been comfortable with how we look at education. We've been comfortable with how we look at our people, how we look at each other, how we look at the world. Now you got some people whose perspective is very clear, and it's helping us get clear. So what we've done in Detroit is we said, hey, since we know what you're gonna do because you already got the ball and you're not dribbling it on our behalf. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at another way to educate our people. So from that, something that was created, which is what my brother talked about, was the Detroit Independent Freedom School. What do? We go old school, what they did in the civil rights movement in Alabama and all that stuff. We start talking to churches, we start talking to community organizations, people that have bricks and mortars. Okay, we need to educate these children. Why was this so important? Because at this time, they had told everybody in the community that they was closing down the Detroit public schools in the middle of the semester. So all of the children that just went shopping for their prom dress, that just went shopping to ask somebody for a date, that was nervous to do it, now they're saying there won't be no more DPS. So you're gonna have to do something else with your life and with the vision on what a prom even looked like. And so what we did is the concerned community folks parents, teachers, and the like, they got together and they started to pull their resources together to educate the children not only in academics but also cultural, the cultural arts. So I'll stop here. Thanks.
Thank you.
So what has the Trump and DeVos budget done? I can tell you, in New Jersey, it helped us to collaborate, communicate, and organize. That's what the budget does for us. We have worked to build a statewide network. So as Rasha said, what happened in Camden, and Newark, and Patterson, and Elizabeth, in Atlantic City, we're communicating, we're having month-to-month meetings, and we're bringing in experts through the We Choose campaign to make sure that we don't only just, you know how you speculate, but we get it right. So that's what we're doing. Also, but let me bring it back locally. Locally, after we have boycotted, kids shut down the superintendent's office, rallied, protest, and all the other stuff. And we filed a Title VI complaint. We have now created an alliance of organizations where we live and build that up so that it can connect locally. Then we go to the statewide network, and then we hit nationally. So as Kamal said, what Trump and DeVos has done has awakened us from our sleep and from our nightmare, and let us understand that if we don't collaborate, and if we don't communicate, and if we don't organize, then we're gonna be right back where we was. So that's where it's taking us.
All right. Give the Superstar panel a big hand. It's not something people bottle up and call it a degree. This is lived and learned experience, right? Yes. We can talk about the highest degrees and how much I went to school. I'm not knocking our educators inside the point, those who chose to go further, but this right here is that lived and learned experience that you can only get by being in those communities and actually experiencing those things. So we're gonna move forward. I wanna talk about the We Choose campaign. Is that okay? Yeah. Can we get to that for a second? Yeah. So I didn't wanna dive into the We Choose campaign, and then I want you guys to think of a couple of questions, because you know, I told you, after lunch they start saying, so I want you all to know that we're trying to get through this, but I want to make sure we have this conversation moving forward. The We Choose campaign. So the bright idea, it was a bright idea, it was bright, right? Very bright, it is glowing. Journey for Justice Alliance is a grassroots organization, J4J, that is led by parent organizations, community organizations. It's based in the community. It's grassroots, right? And it's in about 25 cities across the country. And what happened is that in this organization, there's been some powerful people who are doing some powerful things nationally. G2 Brown leads that organization, right? He had the vision of connecting with people who shared in the same understanding that he had, but to take it up a level, one, to organize, not just advocate, organize across the country. J4J, Death for 1,000 Cuts, published it, went out there, boom, done. Let everyone know that we have collected this data and we're doing this work. Did it. Hunger strike, happened. It didn't just happen, it happened, right? In a sense of we are fighting, we're not playing. J4J groups who are doing things great nationally all across the country. Send out our education platform. J4J said, we got the formula, we think we have talked to enough people to understand how we can make this work. The J4J platform went out, it went viral, and all of our friends, said, I can get down with this. So it became a We Choose campaign. When I talk about our friends, I'm listing them, and forgive me because I don't want to miss anyone. We got Badass Teachers as one of our coalition partners. The batch is in the building. Marla's over there, and the rest of the batch in the building. Save Our Schools is in part of the coalition. Network for Public Education, where we are today. A-Rose is part of the coalition. IDEA is a part of the coalition. Advancement Project is in the building, part of the coalition. Mother's organization is new to the coalition, Moral Mondays, and did I miss anyone? Please forgive me. Education Justice Network is part of the coalition, and J for J, of course, is part of the coalition. So, did I say? Dignity in schools, yes, dignity in schools. So you gotta get me back. So listen, I just named some superheroes. That was like Batman, Spider-Man, the Avengers. It was all of them. Like all these people said, you know what, the Justice League, right? It was a whole like, yo, we coming in for you, right? So you gotta imagine all of these superheroes saying, I'm on page with this. I can finally say that I can get down with this campaign. It put us all in, put us all in a space where we now look at education through the same eyes. We no longer are working in these separate silos anymore. We're no longer playing, oh, that's their issue, it's not my issue. It's all of our issue because we're all serving these children, right? It became everyone's issue because education really means that we have to build better situations for our communities, for our schools, for our children, for the parents. There's no more teacher union over here, parent over there. There's no more community-led organization over there and the churches are over there. It's all of us now in one conversation across the table saying, we're not asking to see the table. We brought our folding chair, we brought our sunscreen, we brought some tents, we brought everything with us to make sure this happens, right? Because the We Choose campaign is multiracially led by people who give a damn. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. When I start saying give a damn, that means it's getting real. So it's important for us to say that we have built this coalition so we're not no longer working these separate silos. This group over there, that group over there, that group. The plug of it is that it's motivated and highlighted by the local work. Now, how many of you guys have been at national tables before and everyone dictates to you how you're supposed to do this work? We're doing this. This is our platform. The national platform is this. We choose to flip that on its head and make it local who's leading the charge. So what we do is you look at all these Avengers up here. I got the Hulk, I got some people up here, I got some people up here. Who are you? The Hulk. I didn't think we were the Hulk, but she was. All right. It's okay. We got the Hulk up here. So I'm trying to stay back. So what happens is that whatever their local issue is becomes our issue as a national board. Yeah. We come in as the big brother and big sister, simple like this. We all been in the playground before, right? In public schools, it gets real. Somebody might push you, and they might push you to the edge, and you say,
about that popsicle,
you know the popsicle, and so you pushed it off, right? And you only in first grade, but it was a fifth grader who did it, because fifth graders got some clout on the K through fifth floor, right? So you're gonna say, I got you, I'm coming back. You gonna get your backup. That's what we choose. We your backup. Now what you say? We standing right here watching you down, push it off our shoulder again. We're not gonna fight the battle for you, but locally, if that popsicle stick is your fight, it's our fight too now because you said I need some backup. That's how we really treat you. That's how we I'm serious, I'm speaking from my heart, and I told you, I'm not Brother G2, but I love him because the energy is inside the room. Listen, all those cities there, we have conducted a We Choose campaign in that city. Every city, Pittsburgh, Middleton, Seattle, Albion, Camden, Patterson, New York, Newark, Kansas City, Dayton, is that Forrestville? We went there. That's actually PGC, Prince George's County, Chicago, Maplewood, Elizabeth, Atlantic City, Detroit, New Orleans, Oakland, and Milwaukee. And we still have about 10 more to go. This campaign is happening, it's going, and it's working in a sense of everyone said, we choose. You know, I choose too. I choose this. It's not about just education, equity, and not to lose the school choice. It's whatever you want to be. You see my shirt? We choose the arts. We choose whatever we want to choose. You know why? Because we are the power. As Jitu said the other night, they made Donald Trump, they may control the city. They may control all the political side of it, but what they don't control is the people. They don't control the ground. And we choose what we want on the ground. We want cultural relevancy. We want certain pedagogy inside our school. We want breakfast until 11 o'clock. It's called brunch now. We choose that, right? We want that kind of work in our school, right? We want our children to come into an environment where they're safe. And we have chosen that. We chose that for our communities. We chose to have communities built up in our communities to say, set up a shop. No. We got this. We want parent centers here. We want this here. We want that here. We want that. We want sustainable community schools in our communities. We want those things, right? So, with all that being said, the We Choose campaign is lifting. It's catapulting. It's not just happening. It happened. And it's in the middle of a space where we've conducted all these critical conversations across the country. We've been on tour, y'all. I think I've been to every city on that map. And my children say, Mom, you coming home? I'll be back, baby. I'm a mother of 6. I'll be back. The point is that we want you all to feel a part of this campaign. We're not selling it to you like if you're not down with it, because Journey for Justice and them think they so cool. No, we're out there doing the work, and we believe in our people. We believe in each other. When I look across this room, in the spirit of all the J4J members and all the coalition partners, we do it because we know it's necessary. We're not doing it because we just want to say we're doing it, because sometimes I just want to take a nap, eat a couple cookies, do them things. I just want to chill sometimes. But the work is important, right? We get up every day, we strap up our boots because we know that it's important. We may even be in a room just to hear what it is. I say again, this is not a charter versus public conversation, this is an equity conversation. Yes. I think we coined the phrase the most is, I don't necessarily want what you have, I want what I need, right? I don't want what you have, I want what I need, and that's equity. I want what I need. So don't tell me, this is that, and it's all the same, right? I want exactly what I need. So if one school needs this, give it to that school, but make sure that it's clear. So make a very clear vision. I'm getting all the looks in the room. All the team is from saying, Rasha, wrap it up. They call me Lil G2. So what happens is, in a community, you have two parents. One child goes to a traditional public school where they are being ripped of their resources. One child goes to a charter school that's a privately funded charter school, right? Let's not get into that. Let's get into the parents arguing at a board meeting. Arguing at a board meeting over my child is getting service better than your child, right? That creates a bigger conversation, but the conversation is about how can we sit here as brothers and sisters and have a conversation about your child being better than mine, and not talk about equity. You don't think my child deserves the same thing your child deserves? That's what we got to get into. So let's not talk about the charter in public. Let's talk about equity, because when we talk about equity, it crosses all race. Yes. It's talking about fairness. It's talking about we deserve it too, right? I'm not begging. I'm just saying, give me what I need. That's all I'm asking you to do. So with all that being said, We Choose. We Choose is a campaign that is doing some great work across the country. And I want you all to know that we are here to connect this to the Network of Public Education conference today. So I'm going to stop right here and take a few questions from the audience. Anyone? Questions? Bring them in for the panel, for myself, anything. Share questions. Sir.
Okay, so the issue is for white people, and I represent all white people. I am threatened by the idea that my children won't be able to live in the same house I'm living at because their income is not going to be the same. So we have to get our kids in that school and to hell with everybody else.
That's a lot. That you said. You represent all the white people, huh? And I mean, and that's an ongoing conversation, right? And I wish I had the blanket statement answer. I wish that I had the solution is this. What it is that it's kind of like what my brother Kamal said in the top of the conversation. What you're dealing with in a situation with local schools and a community and neighborhood schools is, if you look at it from a black and brown perspective, it's very similar, I think. I think it's similar in the sense of we have to start having a realistic conversation on, hey, I'm in this neighborhood, you're in this neighborhood, how are we gonna work through this? How can we work through this, right? So in your community, you live where? In what kind of township?
Where all the whites live.
With the housing, I can't afford in Oakland, but out in the suburbs, they're creating a special suburb with a charter school that's high performing. And I'll send my grandchildren and support my children to go to that school out there because I can't afford to rent in Oakland.
Right. Being brave. I get that, Jim. And I wish I had the blanket.
That theoretical's on the radio.
That theoretical also is an issue that's happening in the communities now, in the sense of it seems like it's just one side of it, but in a local community, the black and brown community, it's 10 times worse, right? It's 10 times worse. Anybody want to take that question?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to say that. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
The mic. Aquaman.
Oh, Aquaman.
No, but that's a serious question.
It is.
But more dialogue is needed. One example is one of the white suburbs outside Detroit, Ferndale. They ignored everything that was happening until they got a letter about the EAA. The EAA, the Education Achievement Authority, which they've been reading in the news on what it did to Detroit, and it just basically destroyed Detroit. Matter of fact, they proved, it's an article, if you go type in Detroit Metro Times and Education Achievement Authority, there's an article that talked about how it was a testing ground for a computer system they was testing for the kids. That's all it was for. But going back to you, a few of those parents got a letter to bring your kids to EAA, how you say it got real? Then they begin, a lot of the community began to ask questions. They begin to come to the meetings. Oh, that's what you were talking about. So when we talk about it's already happened to us, they're coming for you. See, as my brother said, the foot on our neck. You got a choice to stop it before it get on your neck, or wait till it get on your neck. But in any case, that foot is coming.
Yeah. Any more questions from the floor? I want to take people. Okay. So I have one here and have one in Cuba. Okay. Golden State, you may be going first because I'm favoring you. I'm not. So question here. Shayla. Mm-hmm. That was a joke, honey. You good. Go ahead.
Hi. So thank y'all. So a couple of us who are in Oakland, one of our big struggles is that a lot of the most visible advocates for the public schools tend to be white, older union folks. And a lot of us and a lot of us who are concerned, I mean, much love, but a lot of us who are concerned about privatization. So a lot of the face of privatization in Oakland, the privatizers here have been really, really smart. And a lot of the folks they recruited to speak on behalf of privatization are like young folks of color from the town, right? Who are speaking on like how schools have underserved kids of color, which like they did, right? And so what we're really struggling with is how do we acknowledge the damage that public schools have done and we're doing, while challenging that narrative that charter schools are what we need and are the acceptable alternative, as opposed to bringing in this equity conversation.
I hear you. Yeah. Anybody want to take that one?
Because they have racial justice like, all in their mouths, right?
Yeah. I hear that. Anybody want to take that?
You screwed. So I want to make sure everybody was up. That's all I want to say. Just want to make sure you was up. You're alive. With me. I think the biggest thing is one, to look at what has happened, identify what has happened. Sometimes Oakland, because if it's just starting here,
it's not just there.
Okay, but I'm sure there's places around the United States that did this very same thing that's much worse off. So you just do a pros and cons. So if this is what the end result could be, then what can we do to do it better? Not saying public education has all the answers. Now that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that there needs to be some improvement. So how do we get there? Are you saying charter schools will do that? If charter schools will do that, what will happen to the democracy in terms of the people having the right to choose? Do they still have the right to choose the public schools who have their own governing board? Do the people still have the right to choose? If they do not, then that's a bigger question that the young people have to answer. That is not just about putting the piece of having a civil rights thing. I heard somebody talk about, somebody said that G2 was a civil rights leader. That touched me. The reason it touched me is because from my training, from my understanding, from my belief, that we don't have heroes. We have men and women who are fed up of having feet up their butts and on their necks and want to do something that is different. So I'm saying that, I'm only raising that is because people will start to put these folks up and then tear them down. But if you have all men and women who are men and women and say, no, this ain't gonna happen. If that person do get beat down, we help, we grab our brother and the rest of us continue that work. So to answer your question, I think it just needs to be a bigger research, a bigger understanding of what happened nationally, get some of the worst cases, and then say, what does this do overall? And does this actually create what we're trying to do? If it does create what we're trying to do, okay, let's talk about it. Let's move forward. But if it doesn't, y'all gonna have to pay for this, Lucy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir. I'll take one more from the floor. Golden State, you have to go. You have to come with the last question. Then we're gonna move on to the next one.
I just wanted to ask about your Planck National Equity Assessment. Could you speak about that?
You think I would have paid you? Because that's next. I did pay her. No, I didn't. I did not pay her. So we're going right into it. So Yeah, time is here. Time is here.
No. I just wanted to know if I can just comment behind Milana on the face of our own folks.
Okay.
So,
come on in.
So we had a previous mayor called Cory Booker. And we all Cory Booker. My name is Sharon Smith. I'm co-founder of Pulse Parents Unified for Local School Education in Newark, New Jersey. But we had a mayor named Cory Booker who was an African American. Well, that's what he presented himself to be. He was actually one of the folks who had a plot from this book called The Prize with the governor, Cammie Anderson, and Zuckerberg to flip Newark into a New Orleans. And so what I would need to say to you is that it is one of the plans, either by Broad or the Gates Foundation, that they have a book that they play by strip, that they use folks who look like us to come into the room to bring your guard down so they can sneak their plan in. And that's what happened with us in Newark in the beginning. We were very, trustworthy of Cory Booker. He's very charismatic and he says a lot of nice things and he talks about getting money from Newark, and then he spent $1 million to do research about who needs support in Newark and still gave it to the charter schools. So you have to look at this privatization not based on race, because we have a lot of people who look like us in the room that are actually fighting to make this happen. And so I just say that, you need to, as someone told me, trust no one and work at whatever their deeds are. If their deeds are what it needs to be to help our children, then go with it. But if their deeds, no matter how they look, you should not trust them.
Thank you. So I'm gonna bring up real quick. I know we gotta go.
Waiting for the next workshop.
We're gonna close it down right now. So we're gonna go over real quick the tenets of the We Choose program, and then we're gonna let you guys go. And I want you all to look around. We have J4J memberships happening. Save the date for our national conference is over here, May 18th. We got the cards. So let's go over the tenets of the We Choose program.
So the We Choose. Moratorium on privatization. We cannot afford this a third. We should not have losers in education. The creation of 10,000 community schools. We can look at Cincinnati and see that community schools can change bad education. The end to zero policies in public school. Prisoner pipeline has got to stop. We cannot take third grade test scores and decide how many prisons we're going to build. National equity assessment. We can't talk about any of that until we talk about equity. Because if charter schools are so great, why are they not in white affluent communities? That's what you need to talk about. And so the equity assessment helped us in the Dyer fight because the school Lakeview had art and graphic design. The kids at Dyer took art online. So that's what you call an equity assessment. Stop the attack on black teachers. 40% of the kids in Chicago are children of color. Only 22% of the teachers are teachers of color. Stop that. In-state takeovers, appointed school boards, and mayoral control. Taxation without representation. In Chicago, we have an appointed school board. So you can take my tax dollars. I don't get to decide. You can't take the taxes out the stuff I buy, but I don't have a right to say what happens in my schools. Not gonna happen. Eliminate the overzealous of standardized tests. Nobody tests well. I don't know about any of y'all, but we don't. Tests should be, Diane Ragan said it should be to inform, not to assess and fire our teachers. That is the We Choose campaign.
From Oakland, California. Give you guys a little bit of connection on where we are now. Our call to action.
And I'm going to speak very quickly in less than a minute. First, a reminder, tomorrow, Journey for Justice and We Choose is doing another session where we're going to have a World Cafe where we'll have more time to talk about our individual cities and give more examples. Everything you heard mentioned here today is true here in Oakland. Oakland has the highest rated charter schools in the state of California. Okay, the Eli Broad playbook, a lot of the source information comes from Oakland. So this is present right here in the city where you're at right now. So I've been down with Journey for Justice for 4.5 years now.
Yes, sir.
And along with the We Choose campaign. I cannot speak more highly of these folks. They do have my back. They've always had my back. And not like other national organizations, they have never dictated at all what we need to do as local organizations. They've only supported and magnified our work. And so here in Oakland, our main issues right now that we are working on here in Oakland is we have another engineered budget crisis where they're trying to force us into state receivership again. And we are looking at the prospect of schools being closed again. And so these are the things we're lifting up here in Oakland. With the support of Journey for Justice and We Choose, we also are lifting up these national issues. So one of the things I personally want to do, I see some groups in here from Oakland that have signed on to our We Choose coalition here. Actually, Open, the organization that I'm involved with, Oakland Public Education Network, we're actually the West Coast anchor for the We Choose campaign. That's right. Well, so that sounds great, but it's way too much. So what we have here on the side is we have a list for our We Choose Oakland coalition. If you are involved with a group in Oakland, involved with a group in the Bay Area, or involved with a group in California, please take a minute to write your info down, because what we are really trying to do is not just create a Oakland We Choose coalition and not just a Bay Area We Choose coalition, but I want to come away from this weekend with a California We Choose coalition.
Become a J4J member today. If you're a part of an organization, you want your organization to do it, be there. And then we also have Save the Date, our J4J National Conference coming up May 18th to 20th. We are building, we are building, we are building. We thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the conference. We apologize for the delay in this conversation, but it was a good conversation. Give yourself a big round of applause.